Something that has been very beneficial and quite the stress reliever for me, especially during this pandemic, is watching my houseplants grow. Now that it's summer, I've been taking full advantage of the sun and propagating my houseplants left and right. In today's video, I'm sharing with you some of the houseplants that you can propagate simply by taking a cutting and placing them in water. So let's begin today's video first with a list of the houseplants that I will be discussing. Starting off with the Pothos, which is the easiest houseplant to propagate, and then I also have a Dracena. I'll also be talking about the money tree or the Pachira Aquatica, and then I have the Peperomia and of course the Monstera. So definitely this is not an exhaustive list of houseplants that you can propagate in water, but these are some of the houseplants that I've had experience with, and in today's video I just want to talk a little bit about what I have experienced growing each of these houseplants. So the first one that I am talking about is the Pothos, and I feel like all of my videos begin with this houseplant, but that's simply because this guy is really the best beginner houseplant. He's literally indestructible, and he's also very easy to propagate. So in order to propagate this houseplant, or all houseplants actually that I will be discussing, you just have to look for the node area. And the node is where the leaf meets the stem. So on the Pothos, it's very easy to tell because the node usually has a bump, and that bump is usually an aerial root. And what you want to do is just cut right below or in between the nodes in order to get a few leaves, and then just place them in water. The great thing about Pothos is it will start to shoot out roots in as little as 24 hours. It is also a plant that you can grow completely in water, so you don't have to worry about transferring it later on into soil. But if you are thinking of transferring it into soil, then wait till the roots are about 2 inches long, which takes I think about 2 weeks, and then you can transfer it to your soil medium. Or in my case, I have it in a soilless medium, which is called Leica, and I really like this for indoor plants because it doesn't attract bugs. It's also a lot easier to work with than soil. So that is my first houseplant, and let's move on to plant number 2, which is the Dracena. I do not know what type of Dracena I have, but there are a few different types, which include the Lucky Bamboo. This one just came with a bouquet of flowers that my husband gave me last year, and it has grown quite a bit since I got it, despite the fact that I keep it in medium lit or maybe medium to low lit area, so it doesn't sit by the windowsill like most of my other plants. And I have this growing completely in water as well. So this is the root so far. This is 2 stems. Let me just show you guys quickly how it looks. That's the stem growth, and water roots are usually a little bit more fragile than if you plant it into soil, but with these guys I've had no problem growing them in water. And then if you want to propagate this one, let me just show you guys. I actually just took a cutting. So what you want to do is just cut it down here, or cut it at any leaf node, and then just take off a few of the leaves and then place that in water. So I took a cutting right here, and you can see that the stem has now calloused over, and then there is a new offshoot growing through the side. And this Dracena is actually white, or it's actually variegated in color, and you can see that right here. So this guy came actually from the same plant, and this guy gets a lot more sunlight, so it did turn into its true color, which is the white and green. So it has that. It's really beautiful. And then I just have it planted together with my Pothos in this net pot. And I just use the net pot simply because it's easier for me to lift up the container and check if there's water on the inside. Although, like I said, both of these plants can survive completely in just water. So you can choose either which way, if you want to put it into soil, if you want to put it into a soilless medium, or if you want to just leave it in water. The next plant that I have is the money tree, or the Pachira aquatica. And this guy is lucky if he grows 6 or 7 leaves, I think. Mostly it would grow around 5 leaves, like this one right here, or maybe this did have 6 leaves, but anyways, he is considered a lucky plant, and it's supposed to bring in a lot of wealth and prosperity. So another very popular plant. You can propagate this by simply taking a stem cutting, and what you want to do is, again, look for the node area and cut right below one of the nodes and place it in water. This is another great plant that can grow completely in water, but because my stem was quite long, I just wanted it to anchor it a little bit, which is why I have it growing in Leica. This one is about 3 months old since I took the cutting, but unfortunately I don't see any roots. I do know that this guy does have roots because I waited for it to have roots before I put in the Leica balls, just so that I know that the plant is growing. If, for instance, you see a plant that doesn't have any roots after a period of like 2 to 3 weeks, what I do is I just go up one node and then I cut it again, just to see if that can stimulate new root growth. So this one I know does have roots on the inside, but I haven't seen any I haven't seen it peeking out yet, even though this is a clear glass jar. Another reason could be because the leaves are quite big. So when the leaves are very big, it does take up a lot of nutrients in order to sustain the size of the leaves rather than going towards the root growth. So if you have something with a lot of leaves, what you want to do is just take off a few of the branches. I think I wasn't too worried about this plant, and I thought it was just too pretty to take off some of the leaves, so I just decided to let it grow the way that it was growing, and that's the reason why it hasn't really been shooting off any roots just yet. But anyways, this is another plant that is very, very easy to propagate. At the same time, you can grow it completely in water. And I think I just knocked over some water. But anyways, let's move on to the next plant that I have here, which is something that is a little bit more uncommon, but at the same time I find that this plant is super, super cute, and it is the Peperomia. So I'm not so sure what type of Peperomia this is. It's not the popular one. The popular one is the watermelon Peperomia. But anyways, this guy is still super cute and he grows very easily. I've grown this from a seedling, and this is the first summer that I've had it, and it's really been growing extremely well. So it has a lot of new offshoots, and that's usually the way that it would propagate, is just to stem divide it, or take out the roots and stem divide it. But if you don't want to do that, you can propagate it as well in water by simply looking for the node. So that's the first node, the second node, and then cutting right below a node. I'm sorry, can you guys see that? Cutting right below a node and then taking off the leaves of the bottom node and then putting it into water. And let me show you guys. That's what I've done right here. So this guy has been in water for about 3 weeks. It does have a relatively delicate root system, so this plant in general doesn't grow like really massive roots like the Pothos. This plant really does have more of something like that. It looks like very, very thin root system, but it is a very healthy plant, and you can feel it through the stems and the leaves. The leaves feel very, very hardy as well. So I have it just in this container of water, and I'm thinking that I will probably put it into this container quite soon, so I will add it to this container together with the rest of the plants. This plant does not like to have wet feet, so you cannot grow it completely in water. So this is a plant that is a little bit more difficult in terms of difficulty level, I guess, to take care of. You will need to replant it into something like this, either into soil or Leica balls, which is my chosen medium for growing indoor plants. Lastly, I have with me a houseplant that is very, very popular right now, and it is the Monstera. So the Monstera is very distinguishable by its fenestrations and large heart-shaped leaves. So fenestrations just means like these whole areas right here. It is a very hard plant to find right now, I think, because it is popular. So it gets snapped up very, very quickly by plant enthusiasts. But if you do have a friend or somebody who is growing the Monstera plant, you can ask for cuttings. And this guy is actually very, very easy to propagate. I'm unsure if it can grow completely in water, but you can definitely propagate it in water. And that's what I did here. So you will expect root growth in about 2 weeks. Maximum, I guess, about 2 weeks, and it will start to show off some of these white roots. This is actually 2 cuttings. I wanted to separate the cuttings because every time, the way the Monstera grows is it's a vine shape, and all of the new leaves come from the previous leaf. So it just splits from the previous leaf. So in order to make more new growth for the leaves, I decided to split this guy into 2 cuttings. So one of these is 1 cutting, and then this one is another cutting in itself. This guy still has not shown any new leaves, but it's perfectly fine with me because at least I can see that the roots are very healthy and growing quite well. I've had this guy for about 4 months now. I started growing it in Feb, and I took it from a cutting. So that's how healthy it has been growing. At first, I was kind of scared that I was doing something wrong because the Monstera wasn't showing any root growth. But after a while, once it did start growing roots, it grew roots really, really quickly. So that's the other thing about plants. Sometimes it is very slow in the beginning, but then once they do start to develop, they develop very, very quickly. And just the same as my Thai constellation, which was, I think, sick for a very long time, and it took a very long time for it to grow in really good roots, but now it's like shooting new leaves out like crazy, which I'm very, very happy about. So that is the list of houseplants that I have been propagating this summer. Let me know in the comments down below if you have tried propagating any one of these and what has been your result so far. Anyways guys, if you did enjoy this week's video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you aren't already, please consider subscribing to my channel. I actually do more videos on luxury, but since we are in quarantine right now, I've decided to sort of move away and talk about things that have helped me through this quarantine period. Anyways guys, I hope you enjoyed this week's video, and I will see all of you in the next one. Bye bye.